Hello everyone. Today is our second lesson and we're going to talk about Mesopotamia. Before we begin, I want to make one thing very clear. That is, Mesopotamia refers to a region instead of a specific nation or empire. This region is located at the junction of three main continents: Asia, Africa, and Europe. And it is believed to be the place where the very first culture took place. In the word Mesopotamia, Meso means middle or in between, and Potamia means the rivers. So Mesopotamia together means in between the rivers. And the two rivers here are Tigris and Euphrates. You can see them on the map. And these two rivers made Mesopotamia a lovely place for farming. So this region is also called the Fertile Crescent, colored in blue on the map. In this Mesopotamia region, many city-states arose. And the very first city-state is the Eridu. You can see it right here at the south of the Euphrates. But in the beginning, people in Mesopotamia region are called the Sumerians because of a very powerful city-state called the Sumer. Right here, also located at the south of Euphrates, not very far away from the Eridu. So the leader of the Sumerians was religious. They were called the priest kings. And these priest kings believed to have the ability to communicate with the god, and they are responsible for making the god happy. Also, they are controlling the running of the entire city-state. And the Sumerians had a system of distributing resources very different from today's. They share their resources because the citizens just gave their crops and maybe some crafts to the so-called government, and the government distributed these resources back to the citizens evenly. These priest kings want the allocation of resources to be even, to be fair, so they have to keep track of the things going in and out of the so-called governments. Urged by this purpose, the very first writing system called the cuneiform was developed. They were usually written on clays, then people exposed them under the sun, hardening them and make them become permanent. And actually that was the only reason why that we know these histories now. It's because of these clays imprinted with cuneiforms. And like I mentioned before, cuneiform was initially for recording, but later literature stories also appeared. For example, one of the very first piece of literature work on Earth is one about a legendary priest king, Gilgamesh. And also, the Sumerians had a special counting system that largely affected ours today. They counted by 12, which is the bone joints of our index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger. And you can actually count that like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They counted by 12. And people today still believe that this counting system is the origin of our 12 months calendar and 24 hours a day. But unfortunately, like for reasons unknown, the Sumerian culture just disappeared soon. And the next dominating force was the Akkad, and the people are called the Akkadians. This is a region where the Akkadians are from. The Akkadian had a strong army because of a groundbreaking military innovation, that is, bronze weapons. Bronze weapons, they're lighter, longer in duration, they're more portable, and etc., etc. Numerous advantages. So with this powerful army, the Akkadian swept the entire Mesopotamia and unified this area. The king who did this unprecedented unification was called Sargon the Great, and his daughter was also famous, Enheduanna, famous for being the first named literature author in the history. Also, the first political and religious building, called the ziggurat, was also developed during the Akkadians' time. But unfortunately, the same situation happened again. For reasons that we have not discovered yet, the Akkadian culture just disappeared soon. The next power that conquered Mesopotamia was the Babylonians, and the city-state Babylon was located here, also at the south of Euphrates. Instead of sharing resources like the Sumerians, the Babylonians, in the Babylonian times, the class of businessmen started to rise, and rich people now had the power. Because of this money worship, Babylon was always depicted as a wild and crazy place. And one of the kings of the Babylonians, Hammurabi, was very famous for his laws and regulation, the Hammurabi Code. He inscribed his laws on stones and placed them everywhere in the city so that everyone could know his laws. The famous eye for an eye was actually from this Hammurabi Code. However, the Assyrians soon fought against the Babylonians and defeated them. They take control over the Mesopotamia. And this is the region where the Assyrians are from. The Assyrians had a strong war culture, and their weapons are even better than the Akkadians. Instead of bronze, they use iron to construct spears and swords, and they like to threaten their enemies a lot. They usually put chop off heads like that in mountains in front of the battle line, and yelling to their enemies that this is what will happen to you. So actually, a lot of the Assyrians' enemies, including those Babylonians, just surrendered before the battle even began. So with this strong war culture, the Assyrians expanded the empire to the largest one so far. And the culture that women have to cover their bodies and faces also developed during the Assyrian times. Not long after the Assyrian Empire stabilized, the previous Babylonian struck back, and they take control over the Mesopotamia. So now the previous Assyrian Empire, now controlled by the previous Babylonians, is called the Neo-Babylonian Empire. And one thing significant during this period of time is the creation of Hanging Garden, one of the famous 8 wonders of the world. Even today, people are shocked by the delicate designing of trees and waters in the Hanging Garden, but the Hanging Garden is already broken down, and it is truly a pity that we cannot see it anymore today. And finally, as usual, here is a timetable